Hi, today we are going to look at Singapore Chinese Girls Schools SA1 2019. So we are going to look into paper 1, alright, how to solve the problems in paper 1. So we are returning back to the basic, alright, on how we are going to look at the fundamentals and the concepts, alright, for all the topics that you have learned to prepare yourself for PSLE. Alright, so let's look at question 1 and we will go through slowly, right? Every question that we are looking at, we will spend some time to understand the concept and also to understand how to solve. Alright, now question 1, you have 300,000 plus 20,000 plus 40 plus 4. Now, it is very easy to do this question, but it can also be very easy to make a mistake. So what I will do is, I will always write down the workings. So I will write 300,000 and then plus 20,000 and then plus 40, right? 40 and then plus 4. Alright, now when you do this way, even though it's a bit long-winded, but you avoid the careless mistakes. So your answer will be 320,044. So your answer should be, okay, your answer will be number 3. Okay, number 3. Okay, so let's go to question number 2. Now, K spent $1,399,685 on a house. So round this amount to the nearest thousand. Alright, now, so we are going to revise how to do rounding. So I have this number, which is 1,399,685. So rounding off to nearest thousand, there are 3 zeros, right? You can see 3 zeros. So you look at the last 3 digits in the number. So for example, you can see the last 3 digits, right? And then I will draw a line. Alright, then you look for the digit nearest the line, which is your 6. And then you ask a very important question. Is this digit 5 and bigger? Yes, it is 5 and bigger. So you have to round up. Round up means you add 1 on the next digit. And when you do your rounding, your answer will be 1,400,000. So your nearest thousand will be 1,400,000. Okay, that's number 4. Alright, let's go to number 3. Your place values. In 6.79, what does the digit 9 stands for? Alright, now 6. Without the decimal point, it is a whole number. But once you put a decimal point, it becomes a decimal. 6.0, that becomes a decimal. So without the decimal point, alright, it is a whole number, which is actually ones. But when you put the decimal point, and then you have 6.7, the digit 7, right, in front of the decimal point, that is your 10th, right, your 10th place. And then your digit 9 will be your hundreds, okay, which is your TH, right? There's a TH in the hundreds. So what place? Okay, what does the digit 9 stands for? Right, it stands for 900ths. And what is 900ths? It means that it is 0.09. Okay, so the digit 9 stands for 0.09, or you can call it 900ths, which is answer number 3. Alright, so in this question, you are tested on your place values. Okay, let's go to number 4. Alright, find the value of 3/4 and then you divide by 5/12. So you are tested on how to divide fractions, which is actually quite easy. Your school teacher should have told you how to divide. Keep the first number, right? The first number is your 3/4. Change the divide to times, and then you flip the fraction, flip the second number upside down. So you have 12/5. Okay, so you keep change and flip. Alright, then what do? Then you cancel. So divide by 4, and you cancel, divide by 4, and then you will get 3 times 3. So whatever you cannot cancel, you circle. Right, circle the numbers you cannot cancel, and you will get 9. And then 1 times 5 will be your 5. Right, and that's how you get your mixed number, which is 1 and 1 and what? 1 and, so you take 9 and then divide by 5. That will be 1 times 5 is 5, and your remainder is 4. So you will get 1 and 4/5. Okay, 1 and 4/5. And that's how you get your mixed number. But of course there's no mixed number, right? Your answer doesn't have a mixed fraction, so that's 9/5, which is answer number 2. Okay, alright, let's go to number 5. Okay, number 5, and there are red, blue, and yellow, right? Red, blue, and yellow beads. The ratio of the red to the blue is 2:1. The ratio of the red to the yellow is 3:2. So what is the ratio of the red to the blue to the yellow? Alright, so what do you do when you see a question like this? Now you can use ratio to represent. And how do you use ratio to represent? Now you have the red to the blue, and so you write the ratio, which is 2:1, and then you have the red to the yellow, so you write out the names, the labels, and you have 3:2. Alright, then you look at these two ratio. What is the same? You can see the red color is the same color, right? Same. But the numbers are different. So which means that you have to make the numbers equal. So what is the same? You have to make equal. So you times 3, and then this whole ratio you have to times 3. And then this ratio you have to times 2, and then this whole ratio must times 2, right? So then what do you get? You will get 6:3, and then you have 6:4. So once you make the number equal already, and then you will have, you can call them all units, right? They become one big family. So you have 6 units, and then 3 units, and then over here is also 6 units, and then 4 units. So what is the ratio of the red, which is your 6, to the blue, which is 3, to the yellow, which is 4. So you have 6, 3, 4, and your answer will be number 2. Okay? Alright, let's go to number 6. Alright, question number 6. And Amy makes 7 dumplings every 3 minutes. So how many dumplings can she make in 1 hour? Alright, now is there a way to solve this easily? You can write something like this, right? Every time you see this topic falls under rates, the P5 topics on rates. So what you can do is you can actually write down 3 minutes will take how many dumplings do you make? You will make 7 dumplings, right? 7 dumplings. You want to find how many dumplings can you make in 1 hour. So in order to plus, minus, divide, or times, you have to make sure the unit sign are the same. So your 1 hour has to change into minutes, which is 1 hour will be 60, right? 60 minutes. And then how many dumplings is that? Now, if you try to find 1 minute has how many dumplings, it's going to be a bit tedious. Alright, you are going to get a mixed fraction, and then you have to use a mixed fraction and then multiply by 60. So may not be advisable to always find 1 minute to get how many dumplings. You can apply the shortcut. Are you able to jump to 60 without having to find 1 minute? Yes, you can just times 20, and then the other side you also times 20. And then 7 times 2, you will get 14, and then you put the 0 behind. So how many dumplings can you make in 60 minutes? So your answer will be number 1. Right, you can make 140 dumplings in 1 hour. Okay, let's go on to the next question. Now, Jenny had $50. She bought 4 notebooks, and then she had X dollar left. What was the cost of 1 notebook? Alright, now, well, some of us or some of you may have difficulty trying to do algebra problems. Now, there is a way to solve problems like this. Alright, if you are not sure, you're confused, then just give a number. Just give any number to represent X. For example, maybe let's give a number, maybe for example 9. But give a small number, give a simple number. Don't give too big numbers. Then become like a primary 3 question already. So can you find the cost of 1 notebook? So you take 50, which is the money, and then you minus the leftover, and you will get the money spent, which is 41, right? The money spent. And you take the money and you spend on 4 notebooks, and then you can find how much is 1 notebook, right? And that's your answer already. So what you do is you look at the steps. The first step is minus, then later you divide. So you apply the same steps onto your algebra. So instead of 9, you have X. So you take 50, and the first step is minus. So you minus X, and then after that you have to divide, right? So you divide, you show a fraction line. Your fraction line is also dividing, then divide by 4. So how much is 1 notebook in terms of X? 50 minus X over 4, and your answer will be number 1. Okay, so that's how I teach my students to understand how to do algebra. So if you're confused, then just put a number inside, and then it becomes like a primary 3, primary 4 problem already. And it becomes an easy problem. And then you copy the steps, right? Copy and follow the steps. Okay, let's go on to the next one. Now, question 9. The diameter of the circle below, not drawn to scale, is 14 cm. So can you find the area of the circle? So to find the area of the circle, you must know your formula, which is pi r square. And then what is your pi? Your pi has to be you have to leave your answer in terms of pi, so you don't need to change into 3.14 or 22/7. And then what's the radius? The diameter is 14. You just cut the diameter into 2 parts, and you get the radius, which is your 7 times 7. So R square means radius times radius. And then you will get 49 pi, and then that's the answer already, right? That's your answer in terms of pi. So answer number 3. Okay, got it? Okay, let's go on to question 9. Okay, now the figure below is made of a quadrant and a triangle. So can you find angle X? Alright, now if you see a quadrant, right, angles in circles or in quadrants or even semicircle. Now what do you know about circles, quadrants and semicircle? There is a radius, right? You can see a radius from the center of the circle to anywhere on the curved line. This is also a radius, alright, and this is also a radius. So you have 3 equal sides or 3 equal lines. They are all called radius. And because they are all the same, so I will put equal markings. I'll put markings there to show they are all equal. And then you can see what kind of triangle. You can see 2 isosceles triangles. So every time you have angles in geometry, right, angles in circles, right, angles in quadrants and semicircle, look out for the radius because they will tell you something is equal, right? The radius are equal. So if the radius is equal, then you will get isosceles triangle. And so this angle here will be 70. And then you can find your angle X, which is sum of angle in the isosceles triangle. You minus 70 and you minus 70, and you will get 40, alright, 40 degrees. So your angle X is 40 degrees. Okay, let's go on to the next question. Okay, now ABCD is a square with a semicircle cut from the side CD. And BC is equal to 14 cm. So can you find the perimeter of the shaded portion? Now, when you are asked to find the perimeter, then what do? You need to highlight. So every time I will highlight the sides of the perimeter, and then you have to add up all the sides of the perimeter. So this is a square, right? This is one side of the square, and then this side is also 14 cm. This is also 14 cm. So you got 3 sides of the perimeter. So your next step is to find the circumference of the semicircle. So you have to apply your formula. Semicircle is half a circle, and then you multiply by the formula, which is your pi d. Alright, so make sure you use the right formula. And then your half times pi, which is 22 over 7. And what's your diameter? There's no diameter on the dotted line. But in your P4, alright, squares and rectangles, you learn to look at opposite side because opposite sides are equal. So what's on the opposite side, which is your 14 cm. So the diameter of the semicircle must be 14 cm. So you times 14. No calculator, so how do you work out? You can change the whole number into a fraction, and then you have to cancel. So you divide by 2, and 22 divided by 2, and then your 7 divided by 7, and then 14 divided by 7. Alright, so that's how you do faster, by learning how to cancel, right? Cancel the numbers to make them smaller. And then you circle, right? Circle the numbers that you have cancelled. Alright, and then you multiply the numbers you have cancelled. So 1 times 11 times 2, and you will get 22. 1 times 1 times 1, that will be 1. So what is the circumference of the semicircle? Which is 22 cm. So when you have perimeter, it is advisable to highlight the sides of the perimeter, and then you add up all the sides like this: 14 plus 14 plus 14, and then plus 22. Alright, so what do you get? So you will get 64, right? So your perimeter will be 64 cm. So question 10, answer number 2. Okay, let's go to question 11, angles again. Now the figure shows a trapezium and an isosceles triangle. So you have 2 sides that are equal, so which means that you must have 2 angles that are equal, which is this angle and also this angle. Okay, so let me just draw it nicely. So this angle here is equal. Alright, now given that BD equal to BC, and then you have a AB is parallel, right, parallel to CD. Look out for lines that are parallel because they have important properties. They are related to parallel lines. For example, look for Z, right? If you have 2 lines that are parallel, you can actually find a Z. Okay, a very important property. Okay, so and then what is angle BAD? So you're supposed to find the question mark, which is over here. Okay, now in problems on angles, how do we tackle this kind of problems? Now, you don't care about the question mark, right? You don't try to look for the question mark, how to find the question mark. You look for other angles that are easier to find. For example, you can see that there is an isosceles triangle. So can I find the two angles at the corner? Yes, you take sum of angles in the isosceles triangle, and then you minus 50, then divide by 2, and you will get 65 degrees. So this angle 65, and that angle, this angle also 65. Okay, and then what else do you do? Okay, so now can you find this angle here? And how do you find this angle? The z. Alright, that's why you need to look out for a z. So when you can see a z, then this side is 65, then the other side here is also 65 degrees. Right? Okay, now you can find the question mark. And how do you find the question mark? There is a triangle. Look out for triangles. So every time you have an angle problem, you may most likely see a triangle. And if there's a triangle, then the sum of angles in the triangle is always 180. And you minus the angles at the corners of the triangle. So you minus 10 and you minus 65 degrees. And what do you get? So you have 180 minus 10 minus 65, and you will get 105 degrees, which is the question mark, answer number 3. Okay, so this question mark, 105 degrees. And how do you know whether your answer is correct? You look at the size of the angle, right? You can see the angle, the size of the angle is greater than the right angle, P4. How do you know whether the angle is greater or smaller than the right angle? You look at the size, right? You can see the two lines, right? The angle, the two lines are opening wide, all right? They're opening quite big. So which means that your angle must be more than 90. So if you get an answer that's less than 90, then you know that something is wrong. Okay, that's how you check, by looking at the size of the angle. Okay, question 12. Alright, question 12. Alright, so how do we do question number 12? Jeremy has 6 kg of flour. He gave half of it to his friend, and he used 1/4 kg to bake some cookies. How much flour had he left? Now, this is a very easy question, but it's also very easy to make mistakes. You should not take 6 kg minus half and then minus 1/4, because the two fractions are different. They refer to different groups. For example, you look at 1/4, there's a kg there, but this half, there's no kg. So it is not the actual kilo, it's not the actual amount of flour that he gave to his friend. He didn't give half kg to his friend. He gave half of it, which is how many kg? Which is half of 6 kg, right? Because the it refers to all the flour. So you have to be very careful that you don't take 6 kg and then you get minus half, because half is not the actual amount. It is not the actual quantity, right? It's just a representation. Alright, so what is half times 6 kg? That will be 3 kg. Alright, now you can take the total flour, which is 6 kg, and then he gave away half, which is 3 kg, and then he used 1/4 kg, and then you can get the leftover. So now you can minus already, because you can see all the numbers, they have the kg in front. Okay, so 6 minus 3, you will get 3 kg, and then you minus 1/4 kg. So how do you minus whole number with a fraction? You convert the whole number into a mixed number. So you take out one whole, and you have 2 wholes left. And the one whole must have the same denominator as the fraction that you see, which is 4. So the one whole will have to become 4/4. So you have 2 and 4/4 kilogram, and you minus 1/4 kilogram, and then what do you get? You have 2, right? 2 wholes minus nothing in front is still 2. 4/4 minus 1/4, you will get 3/4 kilogram. So how much flour did she have left? Which is 2 and 3/4 kilogram. Okay, so that's how you solve the problem, right? So be careful here that you do not that you look at the fractions and see what they represent. Okay, let's go on to the next one. Question 13. Now Amanda has 40 20-cent coin. Betty has 60 30-cent coins. So which of the statements shows the difference between the money Betty and Amanda has? Alright, so to find the difference, you have to find each person's money. So Amanda has how much? Amanda has 40 times 20. And if you look at the answers, you can see that there are no answers there. It's about the steps. So which step is correct? So if Amanda has 40, 20-cent coin, that will be 40 times 20 to get how much he has or how much she has. And then Betty has 60 50-cent coins. So how much will that be? That will be 60 times 50. So which one do you think is bigger? 40 times 20 or 60 times 50? So if you are not sure, you can do your work out the answer. 4 times 2, that will be 800 cents or $8. And then 6 times 5 will be 30 and add 2 zeros behind. So which is bigger? Which is 30 cents or $30. And who has $30? So this is Amanda and this is Betty. So Betty has $30, right? And she has more money. So how do you find the difference? You take the bigger number and you minus the smaller number. So you should be taking 60 times 50 and then minus 40 times 20. Alright, so which one will give you 60 times 50? Well, there's a 50 times 60. It's the same. And then you minus 40 times 20, which is over here. So your answer must be number 2. Okay? Alright, let's go to number 14. Alright, number 14 is a very important question. Most students are unable to get a percentage increase, but it's actually very simple. Alright, what makes it so hard is when you try to use percentage, when you try to write 100% is how many, 1% is how many, that's when it becomes a little tough. Alright, but how to make it very easy to get the percentage increase? Now, every time there's a percentage, it is quite closely related to fractions, very closely connected to fractions. So I can actually write as a fraction first, and then later I convert to percentage. So there were 120 members last year, and this year there are 300 members. So what is the increase? Percentage increase. So can we first find how many is the increase? You take 300 minus 120 and you get the increase, which is 180. So how do we write in the fraction? The numerator is the increase. Okay, the numerator. Right, that's the increase. And then what is the denominator? Now, the denominator is always the original, right? The usual, the starting number, the number at first, the number before you increase, right? So to get the denominator, you just have to remember it is the number that you start from. So where do you start from before you increase? You start from 120 before you increase, right? So you got your fraction already, right? Okay, once you get your fraction already, so there are two ways to get your percentage. You can either make the denominator into 100, or you can just multiply by 100%. So you can choose either one. So for example, if I were to multiply by 100%, then I will have to cancel, right? Divide by 10, divide by 10. Alright, anything else I can cancel? Yes, I can divide by 2, and then I can also divide by 2, which is 5. And then I can divide by 6, and the whole number here, I can also divide by 6, and that will give me 30. And then I will have 30 times 5, that will give me 150%, and then I have 1 times 1, and that will be 1. So how many percent increase? That will be 150% increase, which is your answer number 3. Alright, so this is the easy way to get a percentage increase. I know that some of you have written 100% is 120, and then how many percent is the increase? That is also fine, but later on you'll find that it is a bit hard to do that way. So the easy way is to write as a fraction, and then later you convert to percentage. Okay, let's go to number 15. Now, grouping. Every time you see a question like this, when you have a list of numbers and there's a repeat pattern, right? We see the words a repeat pattern, it means that you have a repeated group. So the method here is grouping. So can you identify the group? Where does our group start and where does it end? It starts from 0, and then it will end until 0. And then it repeats again. So 0, 1, 2, 1, 0. So you have a repeated group. Okay, now you want to find the sum of the first 203 numbers. So you need to know how many groups are there. So how many groups make up 203 numbers? So you look at one group. One group, there are 5 numbers. So you take 203 and you divide by 5 to get how many groups. And do your working. So 203 divided by 5, you will get 20, and then remainder 3. So 0 times 5 will be 0. Alright, and you get a remainder 3. So which means that you have 40 groups and there's a remainder 3. Okay, 40 groups and a remainder 3. So how to use that to get the sum? Alright, then you must know what is the sum of one group. Whatever one group that you make, it must be similar to what the question asks you. So can you find the sum in one group? So you add up the digits, right? Add up the numbers in the group, and what is the sum? So you have 1 plus 2 plus 1, the sum is 4. So one group, there's a sum which is 4. So you have 40 groups, so you times 4. So you have 160. So which means that if you add up all the numbers in these 40 groups, you will get 160. But there's a remainder 3. Where are the last 3 numbers, which is the remainder 3? And the sum of the last 3 numbers is 3. Right, 0 plus 1 plus 2. So now you take 160, right, and you plus the last 3 digits, which is your 3, and you get the sum of all the numbers, alright, which is 163, number 4. Okay, alright, so the method here is grouping. So in paper 1, there will be some questions that you will need to apply your methods. So grouping is one of the methods. Okay, let's go on to the next question. Okay, now we come back to the easy questions, which is your question 16. Alright, now use the numbers to form the smallest odd number. Now to get the smallest odd number, you always start with the smallest digit, and then followed by the bigger, and then getting bigger. Alright, so you have 2, 3, 5, and then you have 6, and then 8. So your smallest number always begin with the smallest digit and end with the largest digit. And if you look at this number, it is an even number. By looking at the last digit, the last digit is even, so the whole number is even. But you need to make odd number. So how do you make an odd number? You look for odd digits. So can you see any odd digits? Yeah, there's a 5 here, right? So you push the 5, right? Or you switch place, right? Switch the 5 with the 8. So you switch places with the 8. So if not switch places. Okay, you push the 5 to the end, right? Push it to the end. Then you pull back all the digits that you see in front. So you pull back. So you push the 5 to the end and you pull back all the digits in front. And you will get the smallest. Okay, the smallest what? The smallest odd number, which is 2, 3, 6, 8, and 5. Okay? Alright, so this is what you learn in primary 3, how to make the biggest number, smallest number, even, odd number. So we learned that in primary 3. Okay, now express 3/8 as a decimal, correct to 2 decimal places. Now there is a shortcut for this, right? A shortcut. Instead of doing 3 divide by 8 and then you have a lot of working, you can jump this long cut, jump this working, and do something that's faster. The denominator 8 is a little bit special. You can change it, you can make it into 1000. You can actually times 125. So you may want to remember this 8, right? This digit. You can just multiply by 125 and then you will get 1000. Alright, and then 3 times 125 will be 375. So when you want to make decimal, you will need to make the denominator a 10, 100, or 1000. Once your denominator is 10, 100, or 1000, then the decimal will be quite easy to get, which is 0.375. And you need to round off to the nearest 2 decimal place. So what do? You draw a line to show your 2 decimal place, which is 0.37. Then you look at the digits nearest the line and you ask, is it 5 and bigger? Yes. So you round up. And when you round up, what is your 2 decimal place? That will be 0.38. And that's how you do quite fast, right? That's how you work out fast without having to do the long division. Okay, now let's go to the next question. 2 pizzas were shared equally among 5 people. Well, what fraction of a pizza did one person get? So do you take 2 divided by 5 or 5 divided by 2? It can be very simple, but yet also very easy to get confused. You take the pizza, which is going to be eaten by the people. So the pizza will have to be divided by the people. Alright, not the other way around. So which means that you take 2, right, the pizza, and then eaten by 5 people. So how do you write your fraction? Now, your fraction is actually dividing. 2 divided by 5. Right, 2 over 5 is also 2 divided by 5. So every time there's a fraction, it is also like dividing, right? Okay, so your answer is 2/5. Okay, let's go to question 19. Now, Mei Ling and John has pocket money in the ratio 2:5 respectively. John gave $9 to Mei Ling and the ratio of the pocket money Mei Ling has to John became 3:4. So how much do they have altogether? Now, when you see problems in your homework, in your exam, or in your revision papers, you need to always recognize or able to recognize what kind of question is this. Is this a before? So every time you look at a problem, you ask, is this a before and after question? So this problem is a before and after. Then the next thing to ask is what is unchanged? There will be 4 answers that you need to think about. The total is unchanged, one group unchanged, or difference unchanged, or everything changes. So in this question, there is a transfer. John gave $9 to Mei Ling. There's a transfer, and so the total is unchanged. Then you can draw your model. All right, there are 2 ways to do this. You can use model or you can use table method. Okay, but for the sake of the students who may have difficulty trying to understand, so we use a model. All right, so we have 2 boxes for Mei Ling and then 5 boxes for John. So you cut into 5 boxes for John. And then John gave $9 to Mei Ling, right? And Mei Ling gets more money, right? So Mei Ling gets more money. So let's draw a bit longer. And then John will get lesser money. So John will have something like this. Okay? And why do I purposely draw in this way? Because if you notice carefully, right, the total boxes they have at first is 7. And the total boxes in the end is also 7. So what is unchanged? Not because the total boxes is unchanged, all right, but it's because the question says there is a transfer. So when there's a transfer, then the total is unchanged. So you have to make the total the same. All right, so now you can see that Mei has longer rectangle and John has a shorter rectangle already. So every boxes, you call it 1 unit, right? So every box will be 1 unit. Then you can see that how many units did John give away? John must have given away 1 unit, right? So your 1 unit must be $9. So how much money they have all together? Then you count, then you add up the units, right? Add up all the units. So they have 7 units at first and also 7 units in the end. So how much is that altogether? That will be $63 altogether, right? So your answer will be 63. Okay, let's go to the question 20, still a 1-mark question. When you see percentage problem, the first thing that you must think about, there is a special number which is 100%. So every time you do percentage problem, there is a 100%. So you need to ask, what is your 100%? So the price of a dress without GST is $50. So what is your 100%? Your 100% is original. No discount, no GST. It's a very clean percentage. The moment you have a GST added, or the moment you have a discount added, then it's no longer 100% already. It will become something different. So you always start with 100%, which is a very clean number. And then this 100% will be the $50, right? And of course, you will start to find 1%, right? 1% and so on. Okay, so the GST is 7%. So how much will Georgina pay for the dress, inclusive of the GST? So you find 1%. Okay, 1% will be 50 divided by 100. Now, try to avoid decimal. Try not to write 0.50, which is a decimal. You can actually write whole numbers. You can change the dollars into cents so that it's easier for you to look at the numbers. Then you take 50 100 cents, divide by 100. That will give you 50 cents instead of 0.50, because decimals is always a little harder, right? Harder to work out. And then can you find what is the GST, which is 7%? So that will be 350 cents. And that will be also $3.50. So now you can convert back to decimal. Alright, so how much did she pay for the dress, including the GST? Then you take the original price, and then you have to plus the GST, which is your $3.50, and she paid $53.50 for the dress, including the GST. And that's how you solve, all right? How you solve this problem. Okay, all right. So let's go on to 2 marks question. All right, we're coming to the 2 marks question now. Will get a little harder, but not to worry. Usually they are not very hard. Okay, paper 2 will be a little harder, but when you come to paper 1, most of them are still manageable, right? So you should try to score high in paper 1. Now, Helen's score for the first 2 tests are listed in the table. So how much must Helen score for the third test in order to get an average score of 80 marks for all the 3 tests? Now, this is an average problem. So when you see average, the first thing that you can think about is, can you find the total, right? How to get the total marks? You take the average, which is 80, multiplied by how many tests, and you get the total marks, which is 240. So a very important lesson here. If you see average problem, then you think about, can you find the total? And once you get the total already, now can you find how many marks, or what did she score for the third test? So you take 75 plus 70, that will be 145. Then you take 240 minus 145, and you will get the third test. All right, the score for the third test, and your answer will be 65. So she has to score 65 marks for the third test. Is it 65? No, it's not 65. Okay, calculation mistake. Okay, Mr. make a calculation mistake. All right, 240 minus 145, that will be 95. Okay, 95 marks. So be careful with your calculation. All right, 95 marks. Okay, so let me just have a quick check with my calculator. And yes, 95 marks. Okay, let's go to question 22. Now, the figure is made of 4 identical quadrants with a radius of 10 cm inside a square. So what is the area of the shaded figure? Now, there's shortcuts, right? There are shortcuts again when you see area of circles or even circumference. Now, what is a shortcut? Every time you see identical shapes, right? Identical shapes, can you combine them to form something regular? What is a regular shape? A regular shape is circle, squares, triangles, rectangles, okay, all these are regular shapes. So can I take the quadrants, which are all the same, and then form them into a circle? All right, because if you can do that, you can cut down the steps, right? And how to cut down the steps? This circle is made of 4 identical quadrants. So all I have to do is to just take the whole square. So when you do area and perimeter, always look out for regular shapes, right? Have an eye for regular shapes, right? Don't look at the irregular shape, which is the shaded part, right? The shaded parts are not regular shapes. So look out for squares, look out for triangles, look out for rectangles, and then use the quadrants to form a circle. So I just have to find the area of a circle, which is pi r square. And what do I get? So pi pi is 3.14, and the radius is 10, right? The radius of the quadrant is 10 cm. So pi r square means pi times 10 times 10, and you will get 314 cm square, which is the area of the unshaded quadrants. Then I have to find the area of the whole square, which is 20 times 20, right? So 20 times 20, I will get the area of the whole square. And then how do I get the shaded part? You minus. You take the square minus the circle. Minus means what? You cut out the circle, and then what is left behind will be the shaded parts. So you take 400 and you minus 314, and you will get 86 cm square, which is the shaded part. Okay, so method here, lesson here, if you see any identical shapes, can you join them to become a what? A regular shape, become a circle, or become a square, or whatever, right? Because if you can do that, you cut down your steps. But otherwise, you will have a bit longer, you have to do a bit longer, but it's okay, because you will still get the answer, just that you take a longer time. Okay, let's go on to the next question. Now, question 23, algebra again. Tom bought 2 erasers for X cents each. Right? He also bought an exercise book. He spent $6 altogether. So what is the cost of the exercise book? Now, again, if you're confused, like what I mentioned just now, you don't know what to do or what is the first step, then just change the X to maybe 10 cents. Okay, 10 cents. Give a simple number, and then it becomes like a what? Like a primary 1 question already, or primary 2 question. So what do you do to get the cost of the exercise book? You have to find how much is 2 erasers. So you take 2 times 10 cents, and the cost of 2 erasers will be 20 cents. And then he spent $6 altogether, right? So how much is the exercise book? You take $6, which is all the spending, all the money he spends, and then you minus away how much is the eraser, and that will give you the exercise book. But you have a problem. What's the problem? You cannot minus when the unit sign when the units are different. So if the units are different, you have to change it to the same, right? The same units. So you have to change them all into cents. Then you can minus, and that's how you get your answer here, right? Okay, so look out for the steps. What are the steps? Now the steps is you have to time first. So your first step is to multiply. You take 2 times x, and you will get 2x, okay, 2x cents. And then the second step is to minus, and you have to change the $6 into 600 cents, and then minus what? Minus the cost of the eraser, which is 2x, and that will give you the cost of the exercise book, and that's your answer. Okay, so lesson here is what? Give a simple example, give a simple number, a very small number, then you look at the steps that you have written, and then you just copy, right? Copy the step, right? You have to times first, then later you minus. Alright, so you can see over here, times, and then you minus. Okay, let's go to number 24. A toy wheel of radius 7 cm was rode along a straight line on a table. So what was the distance covered if it makes a total of 10 complete revolutions? So what is a revolution? 1 round. So the wheel is going to make 10 rounds. So this is a circle, alright? It's a question on circle. And when the wheel make 1 round, so you need to find the distance. So are you going to find the area of the circle or the circumference of the circle? You are going to find the circumference of the circle, because the circumference of the circle, right, after making 1 round, alright, that will give you the distance that it has traveled after 1 round. So for example, if the wheel has traveled 10 rounds already, right, 10 rounds, then what is the distance? What's the distance after traveling 10 rounds? So from here, okay, from here, what's the distance? Alright, can you find the distance? So you just have to find the circumference of one circle, which is a distance traveled in 1 round. Then later you times 10. So every time you are finding the distance, you do not look at the area. Area means what? Area means the inside. So this question has nothing to do with the area. Area means the inside. This question has to do with the length, right? The length of the, or we call it the circumference of the circle. So what is the circumference of one circle or 1 round? That will be pi d. So pi d will be equal to 22 over 7. And what's the diameter of this circle? This toy wheel has a radius of 7, right? 7 cm. So to get the diameter, what do? You take the radius and you have to times 2, and that will give you 14. Alright, radius times 2 to give you diameter, and then you cancel. So cancel, and here also cancel. And then what do you get? 22 multiplied by 2, you will get 44, and then 1 times 1 is 1. So what is the circumference of the circle? Which is 44 cm. Which means that when the wheel makes 1 round, it will travel 44 cm also. So there are 10 rounds. So what's the distance that the wheel has traveled in 10 rounds? So you take the distance traveled in 1 round, after 1 round, then you multiply by 10. So that will give you 440 cm, which is the distance traveled after 10 rounds. And that's your answer, right? So every time you see a wheel making a revolution, or the wheel is turning round and round, and you're asked to find the distance, what are you looking at? You are looking at circumference, not circles, not area. Okay, you're looking at circumference and not the area. Okay, let's go to question 25. Okay, now you have to draw the top view. So when you draw the top view, you have to look from the front first. Okay, look from the front first, and then you look down after that. And when you look down, you will see and there are 3 squares. Alright, 3 squares. Alright, like this, 3 squares. And you need to highlight the outline. You have to draw the outline. Then you may want to do some zebra or draw some zebra stripes. And then there are 3 squares at the bottom row here. So you have 3 squares. Alright, and you draw some zebra stripes. And that is your top view. So lesson here, to draw the top view, you always stand in front. And then you look down. Always stand from the front and look down. So there's only one drawing, actually. Alright, so what's the front view? Now the front view, you can see that there are actually 2 squares, right? 2 squares. So you draw 2 squares. And of course, you do some zebra stripes. And then there are 3 squares at the bottom, right? 3 squares. So then you draw 3 squares at the bottom. So this will be your front view. Okay, your front view. Got it? Yep. Okay, so let's go on to the next question. We are coming to the end of the paper 1 very soon. Okay, now John had a 1 meter long wire. He used some of it to form a square and 2 identical equilateral triangles. Now, when you see area and perimeter, or even angles, geometry, all right, you see all the different shapes. And if you see squares, then what do? You mark out the sides so that you know that they are all equal. And if you see equilateral triangles, you also mark out the sides so that you know that they are all equal. And then there's something that Mr. Long has taught you. When you look at area and perimeter, what do you look for? Look for equal parts. And what do you call the equal parts? You call them units. So every equal part is 1 unit. So which means that if you look at xy is 1 unit and 2 unit. So 2 unit must be equal to 16 cm. So when you look at area and perimeter, one of the methods, okay, that I have mentioned before is to look for equal parts. And what do you call equal parts? You call them units. Alright, or sometimes you call them parts. Alright, so what do you do next? Now, then you start counting, or you count 1 unit, right? 1 unit is how many? So 1 unit will be 16 divided by 2. Then you start counting how many units are there. So you have 1, 2 units already. 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, and 9. So there is a total of 9 units. And your 9 units will be 72, right? 72 cm. And you're supposed to find what? You're supposed to find the length of the remaining unused wire. So how do you find the unused wire? You take 1 meter, which is 100, and then you minus the 72 cm. So make sure that you have the same unit sign before you minus, and you will get 28 cm, which is the unused, okay, the unused wire. Right? Okay? Alright, let's go on to the next question. Question 27. Alright, tank A has a square base of 144 cm square. Given that the ratio of the height of the tank to the breadth of the tank is 5:3, what is the capacity of tank A? Now, sometimes problems are hard is because you try to do mental sum. You try to do everything in your mind. But what you should be doing is to put the numbers onto the pictures. So whatever pictures you see, do some drawings, put something on the picture. For example, the ratio of the height is 5 and the breadth is 3, alright, so 3. And it is a square base. Square base means the other side is also 3. So put something onto the picture so that it looks clear. Alright, and then there's a square base. So what does a square base tell you? Square, what does a square tell you? The square tells you all the sides are equal, right? There's a square base area. Oh, area of a square. So if you know the area of the square, right, the area of the square, which is 144 cm square, then can you find one side of the square? So are you going to take 144, which is the area of the square, and then divide by 4 equal side? Now, that is wrong. Okay, you can't do that because area cannot divide by 4. But perimeter of the square, you can divide by 4. So be very careful about this because you cannot take area divided by 4. But you can do something like this. You can find the square root of 144. If it's a paper 2, you can use your calculator to find the square root. But if it's not a paper 2 and you need to do working or show how you get the number, then how do you get the number? It means that a number times the same number, that will give you 144. Alright, square means length times length. It means that something times the same number equal 144. So what is that number? 12. 12 times 12. So which means the square root of 144 is 12 cm. Okay, so now we know that one side of the square is 12 cm. Okay, one side is 12 cm. And then you look at the diagram. You should know how to continue the next step. So the diagram tells you that 3 units is equal to 12 cm. Then of course you find 1 unit. And then you can find the height. The height is 5 units, which is 20 cm. So once you know the height, then can you find the capacity? What is capacity? It means volume. So can you find the volume of tank A? You take length times height. But you don't have to do so many steps. You already have the base area, which is your length times length already. So you just take base area, length times length, which is the base area, and then you just multiply by the height. Okay, by the height. And what do you get? Then shortcut 144 times 2, that will be 288, and you put the 0 behind. So the volume of the tank is 2880 cm cube. So what's the lesson here? The lesson here is if you see drawings, you see pictures, then you put numbers, alright, put the numbers onto the picture to make it look more clear. Okay, now question number 28, angles again. The figure not drawn to scale is made of two trapezium. Given that FE is parallel to AD, so you can see the arrowheads, and can you find CDE, which is this entire angle? Okay, now every time you see two lines that are parallel, there is a very important property, and if you know this important property, you can use that to solve hard problems in paper 2. So what is that very important property that will help you to solve harder problems? So you look out for two lines that are parallel, and if you see any angles between the two lines that are parallel, right, these two angles, then when you add them together, what do you think they will be? The sum of angles between two lines that are parallel is 180, right? Then you can find the right angle over here. So what's the right angle? Which is 180 minus 125, and you will get 55 degrees. So this right angle is 55 degrees. Alright, then can you find this right angle here? So once again, there are two lines that are parallel, and every time you see two lines that are parallel, look out for two angles between them. Right, these two angles between them, they will also add together, become 180. So this is the very important property, and usually students can't solve the angle problem because of this. Right, they forgot this property, they are not aware, so they are stuck. They couldn't find the other angles. Alright, so what is the right angle over here? That will be 180, and you minus 130, and you get 50 degrees. So this angle is 50 degrees. So now can you find the blue angle, which is the whole angle? So you take 55 and then plus 50, and the whole angle will be 105 degrees. And that's how you solve it. Okay, let's go on to the next question. Question 29, angles again. Okay, so this paper has a lot of angles. Now the figure below is made of two triangles, and then you have a BCD is an isosceles triangle. Alright, so where's your BCD? So let's show the BCD is an isosceles triangle. Alright, there seems to be a marking missing, right? Something is missing. So I believe that there must be a marking here, and then there's also a marking here. So which two angles are equal? So the two angles, they are equal. Should be okay, let me see. The question number say which two lines are equal. Okay, we have to assume. Alright, I think there's something wrong with the printing. So one of the lines is missing. So your BCD is an isosceles triangle. Okay, so you're supposed to find BEC. You're supposed to find this angle, right? This angle. Alright, so we have to assume that that these two lines are equal. So the answer key may be a bit wrong, I don't know. Alright, but let's assume. Let's assume that these two lines are equal. Alright, because it's an isosceles. Okay, then what do we do? Alright, then you look for angles that are easier to find. Alright, so if this is 50, then this whole angle must also be 50. And then you take 50, and then you minus 20, and you get this angle, which is 30. Right, 30. Okay, so now can you find the BEC, which is the question mark here? Look out for triangles, right? Triangles are very common in angles problem. So can you find this question mark? So the sum of angles in the green triangle, minus 50 minus 30, and you get 100. So the green color angle, or the angle here, is 100 degrees, and that's how you get the angle, right? Okay, alright, let's go on to the next question, right, the next one. Now, okay, bar graph. Now, when you see bar graph, line graph, there are some important things to take note before you actually solve. Because if you don't do that, then you find that it's quite easy to make mistakes. So, lesson number 1, you see bar graph, you need to count the gaps. Right, you have to count the gaps, and how many gaps are there? There are 5 gaps, okay, 5 gaps, right? So, 5 gaps is 200, right? So, you make sure you count the gaps carefully. Like from here, you have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Right, there are 5 gaps. Then you find how big is one gap, which is 40. So that is the first thing you must do, to count the gaps. Then the second thing is to put numbers onto the rectangles, onto the bars. So 1400, right, 1400, you minus 40, you get 1360. And then the savings will be 600. And then your transport will be 240. And then your food will be 800. Alright, that's the second step. And now you can look at the questions and solve. Alright, so make sure you do all this first. Alright, because if you don't do that or you just rush through, you find that it's very easy to make mistakes. Alright, then you see what percentage. And like what I mentioned earlier on, right, many pupils make mistake because they write 100% equal to what, and then how many percent is the transport. Nothing wrong with that. If you know how to do that way, then that's fine. But usually, quite a number of students, they are stuck in getting the percentage. So what I will advise is to write as a fraction. Alright, fraction is always very easy. So how to get the fraction of the salary that she spent on transport? So you need to add up all the money. Right, what is all the money, which is the salary? So you plus them all together. You take 1360 plus 600, and then plus 240, and then plus 800, and her salary is 3,000, right? $3,000. So what percentage of the salary did she spend on transport? So transport is 240. So you got your fraction already. And then what do? You can either make the denominator 100 or you times 100%. So let's make the denominator 100. Divide by 10, divide by 10. And then you divide by 3. 24 divided by 3 is 8. 300 divided by 3 is 100. So once your denominator is 100, isn't that faster to get your percentage? Right? Because I understand, alright, Mr. knows that many of you, alright, because your school teacher has taught this way, nothing wrong with that. If you know how to do this way, then it's fine. Your 100% is all the money, which is $3,000, right? And then you want to find how many percent is the transport, which is $800. And then some of you will have difficulty already. You will have to think a bit more to get how many percent. So what I will do is, even Mr. also has to think how to get how many percent is 800. So instead of doing like this, instead of doing this way, why not you get your fraction? So what fraction of the salary did she spend on transport? And once you get your fraction already, then what do? Then you get your percentage, right? Okay, so we come to the end of the paper 1 lesson. So I hope that at the end of the paper 1 lesson, you really have a good understanding on how to tackle the questions in paper 1. All the topics like percentage, angles, alright, I hope that you are more confident now. And then when you start doing other paper 1s, you don't make the same mistake, alright? Whatever mistakes you make sure that when you do the other paper 1s, that you are making new mistakes, alright? All these mistakes you have made, you have learned, and you have improved, right? Improved by not making the same mistakes. Alright, so we come to the end of the paper 1 lesson. So stay tuned for the next exam paper, which we will be looking at in a few days' time. Alright, so see you.